Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Pantera, Slipknot. Yes, these are all heavy metal bands. And today we're going to be talking about heavy metal, but not heavy metal music. We're going to be talking about the Heavy Metal Summer Experience with my guest, Angie Simon. She is the co-founder and president of the Heavy Metal Summer Experience, a summer camp for high school youth to teach them about the amazing opportunities that they have in the trades. And Angie is the immediate past president of SMACNA and a former CEO of Western Allied Mechanical. And her passion project right now is the Heavy Metal Summer Experience. It is growing throughout the United States as a doorway into the trades for young men and women who may not be college bound, but are talented, hardworking, and want to get into the construction industry as a means of securing a tremendous future. Angie dives into how the Heavy Metal Summer Experience came to be, the structure of it, and how other industries in the construction trades, other different subcontracting trades, even general contractors, could take this model of the Heavy Metal Summer Experience and use it to attract people into construction. So share this conversation with other people and make sure you connect with Angie at her website. All the links are in the show notes. Thank you for listening to Construction Genius. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Angie, welcome back to Construction Genius.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate being here.
It's my pleasure. Today, we're going to talk about the Heavy Metal Summer Experience, and it's all things workforce development. So please tell us all about the Heavy Metal Summer Experience.
I'm happy to, Eric. Let me pull back a couple years. And I was at Western Allied and was working, it was 2020 during the pandemic. And my partner and I were talking about his older son, who at the time was 14, who he's just not meant for high. He kind of predicted that he wasn't interested in college and school wasn't his thing. But this young man started taking some art classes in the shop in 2019 in a welding shop in Oakland and loved welding. So in 2020, during the pandemic, my partner during the summer set up this young man to take some welding from our shop superintendent. And my shop superintendent said he is a better welder than most of my guys.
Wow.
At 14. So it was impressive. But my partner and I started talking about the fact that, man, there's so many kids out there that don't know what they can get in the construction industry and what a great career a job in the trades is. I mentioned because we were located in Menlo Park and California, which is right next to East Palo Alto, which is a pretty underserved area for the Bay Area. I said to my partner, how do we run a summer camp? And he said, well, why don't you propose it? So I wrote up a business plan and I presented it to my partners at Western Allied. And I said, it's going to cost us some time and some money the first summer, but I really think we should run a summer camp to teach the East Palo Alto kids about what kind of a career they can get in the trades. And to do that, we need to have them do sheet metal, do piping, and to learn about the trades. And my partners, to their credit, said, yes, let's do it. I started making a plan. We had a virtual convention for SMACNA that year, and I shared that idea on a workforce development roundtable. And my peer group member up in Seattle, Hermanson, called me up as soon as the roundtable was over and said, can we join you? Can we run a camp? The two contractors teamed up that next fall and spring to come up with the camp, basically to develop the projects that we were going to do. We came up with a name, Heavy Metal Summer Experience, which we thought was kind of fun. And we ended up I had 16 kids and he had 12 kids up in Seattle. And exciting for me was we had 6 girls and we had 15 of the 16 kids were minorities in our camp. And I think he had 4 girls out of his 12. And he had a lot of minorities as well. And the camps were super successful. The kids loved it. My employees loved it. And then Rick Hermanson and his team and my team put together a playbook when the project was done, when the camps were done, a playbook that we wanted to share. We wanted to tell everybody about how you could do this type of thing. And at the time, I was still national president for SMACNA. So I started sharing that vision, partially because everywhere I had been, everybody talks about we're not going to have enough people in our trades. They say 40% of the trades in the next 5 years are going to retire. And we're already short people now. by sharing that message and sharing my playbook. Last summer, we had 11 locations in the United States and 170 kids. And this summer, we have 22 locations and 400 kids. And we're across the United States, and we have one in Canada. So we're growing fast. And definitely, we have some major supporters: Milwaukee Tool, DeWalt Tool, Procore, Train, Mestec Machinery. We just got some great sponsors that are helping us with this.
That's terrific. Tell us, why do you think something like the Heavy Metal Summer Experience is necessary in the construction trades?
Well, partially because we don't have shops in schools much anymore. There are some shops in schools where you get wood shop or auto shop, but very little anymore. And construction has kind of a reputation. People don't realize what a great career you could get in it. I think people think about it as the old construction thing where you're going to be working in a ditch in the rain and everything else. And construction is so modern compared to that now. There's so much technology involved in construction. I think part of this is they just don't understand the opportunity. And what we have found is the average age of an apprentice entering our apprenticeship for the Sheet Metal Union nationally is 26 and a half years old. Kids get out of high school and they roam around for a while. We also asked, how did you hear about it? And it's all word of mouth. What's happening is construction's in a lot of areas, not all areas, but in a lot of areas is a white male industry. And word of mouth, you generally share with your friends, which in a lot of situations are white males. We think we need to get into the more underserved and diverse areas, trying to make our construction industry look a little bit more like the cities that we live in and share that idea. And I found from my camps that we've had at Western Allied that the kids and the parents both say, we had no idea that this kind of opportunity was available, that they could work and get paid while they're doing an apprenticeship. And they actually don't have to spend money for the apprenticeship. It's a free apprenticeship if they're working for somebody. The parents are like, this is something we never had idea. And within 5 years, they are a full journey person. And they're making, in our area, over 6 figures at that point. I think part of it is our construction industry needs to get messaged about what a great industry it is and what careers you can get.
In the Heavy Metal Summer Experience, are they getting paid to come, or how did you structure it so that it was really driving home the idea of coming and joining in the industry? Give us a little more on that.
Well, we're very open to having people run the camp what would be best for their company or their training centers. My camp was typically Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2:30 to 5 for 6 weeks or 7 weeks. And this year we're doing 7 weeks because we're pulling in electrical and service. But there's no cost to the kids to come to the camp.
I see.
When they get to the camp, Heavy Metal raised money to provide them Red Wing boots. So they get a set of boots. They get PPE that Milwaukee and DeWalt help us with. So they get their glasses and their gloves and their vests. They get T-shirts that we provide them. But also at the end of the camp, they walk away with a bag of tools. So Milwaukee and DeWalt have become really great partners. They each gave me a couple hundred bags of tools. So that includes hand tools, tape measure, levels, screwdrivers, and as well as a drill and a battery and a charger. The kids do walk away with an awful lot. And it's about a 30-hour camp. And we do push that they have to attend. They can't get their tools when they walk away at the end, or their boots if they don't attend enough camps. There might be some camps that have some supplements for them, depending on the people you're working with. But really, though, it's a summer camp that's free to them. And it teaches them a little bit about where they could go. And we're trying to encourage 16, 17, 18, even 19-year-olds after they've graduated to attend the camp, because at that point, we can help them navigate how to apply for the unions, how to get into the trades, and help them. We've hired a bunch of our campers. They've been either pre-apprentices and then they work their way into apprenticeship. One really great story. Can I tell a story?
Please do. Yeah, stories are great.
Our first summer up in Seattle at that camp, there was a young woman in our camp she was one of the top kids in the camp. She was super interested. She was very motivated. Her mom pulled Jana aside at graduation and said, "Can I talk to you?" And she said, "I'm a housekeeper and my husband's a framer. And the last semester of my daughter's senior year in high school, she got very depressed. The mom started crying. She was in a dark place. And I kind of lost my daughter." And then she said, "But when she got into your camp, 6 weeks later, I got my daughter back." She said she loves what she's doing. Hermanson hired that young woman. She was a pre-apprentice for 8 months, got into the apprenticeship. And now she's a year and a half, almost 2 years in the apprenticeship, and just loving what she's doing. And she's just an excellent worker. And she's super excited about being a sheet metal worker.
I think that's one of the fundamental things about the construction industry, and really speaks to the human desire to do something of purpose, is that you can see what you're doing before you and you can see the contribution that you're making to a structure and to the benefit of other people. And it's interesting that you share that story because for a lot of young people, they do struggle with a sense of purposelessness or a sense of a lack of direction, and giving them that opportunity to say, hey, here's a career that you could build over a long period of time. That's a tremendous thing.
Yeah. To share, that's one thing I loved about the construction industry from day one. I would love to be able to drive by a building and said, hey, I helped build that building.
That's right.
I mean, it's great to be able to say I was participated that. These kids in the camp, we make a toolbox, we make a lamp, we make picture frame, we make, some of these are out of pipe, some of them are out of sheet metal. We made a dustpan. This year we're making a rose. They get to take all these projects home and display them and share them with their families. We encourage them, those that are like juniors going into seniors, to tell their friends about this and share the message. And another story would be that my first summer, we had 6 kids that were ready, that had graduated high school from my camp. One was not interested. The other 5 were very interested, and one of them, we got into the pre-apprenticeship right away, but the other 4 didn't have driver's license. And the union requires them to have a driver's license. So we've been working with a nonprofit in East Palo Alto called Live in Peace. And they said, well, we'll help them get driver's licenses. It took them close to a year to get their driver's license by the time most of them did. But they had applied for the unions, they had passed the test, and they were now going to be in the interview process. They called us and said, can we do mock interviews at your shop? Because they're very nervous about the interviews. 3 of the kids wanted to do interviews. So the 3 of them showed up, but we had 5 kids showed up. And I asked the other 2, who are you guys? And one of them was the older brother of one of the kids that showed up. And he said, well, my brother told me about the camp, so I took the test and passed, and I want to work there instead of Lowe's. And the other one was a friend, and he had been told by his buddy about it. So the whole word of mouth thing works because now I've got him in a diverse, underserved area, and they're telling the story about it. And all of a sudden, we're getting more of the kids that look like them into our trades, which is really a good thing. The more diverse we are in our trades, the better we're going to be actually in the future.
You had the first summer camps in 2020, correct?
2021 was our first.
21. Okay, so we're 23 we're in the 3rd year now. What have you learned over that time? What adjustments, what changes have you made? What sort of pitfalls did you dive into that you're saying, I'm not going to go that way again?
Well, we've been very flexible because some of the camps have been run in our training centers, we call it joint apprentice training centers across the nation. Like, for example, in LA, we ran a camp last summer and he's running it again this summer in the training center.
Union Training Center?
A union training center, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Yep.
And he has a week off between apprenticeships. So he's running a full week camp in that training center. We're very flexible saying, hey, if you want to run a full week camp, we're having folks that are running it for a 2-week camp and they're doing it, half days for 2 weeks. I'm just trying to stress to them that maybe around 30 hours would be beneficial. But what we've learned that the kids love fire.
Yes.
They love soldering and welding, and they all want to learn how to weld. We've had to incorporate a little bit more of that in the camps because we want them to learn about that. The first summer, we were a little nervous about welding and things like that, so we figured out how to make it safe with the kids. We also have learned that we really feel like we should show them all 3 MEP trades, mechanical, HVAC, piping, and electrical. We're starting to tie electricians into some of the camps. There's 3 of our camps, Hermanson, myself, and Silicon Valley Mechanical, that are all bringing in electricians for a camp a day or 2 and working on an electrical project. And we are actually we're presenting at the NECA is equivalent to SMAC, the union side of the electricians. We're actually going to be at their convention with a booth talking about heavy metal summer experience. We also have learned, we have a whole section in the playbook of lessons learned, pluses and minuses of things that we could do better. Getting the kids permission slips can be a challenge, and making sure they sign media releases, or the parents do.
Hey, hope you're enjoying my conversation with Angie. Quick break to talk about my book, Construction Genius. I tell you, no Manscaped, no super juices, no vitamins, nothing like that here on Construction Genius. Just solid, simple, practical, effective, no BS leadership strategy, sales, and marketing advice for construction companies. Construction Genius is a great book. You should read it. You should buy it for everyone in your company. And when you do, you will see an immediate change in the quality of your leadership, because the book will teach people how to be better leaders. So go out to Amazon, get yourself a copy, get copies for your leadership team. You will see a benefit. All right, back to our conversation with Angie. So would you recommend, let's say a company wants to do something like this, would you recommend dedicating one person to it? How would you go about the logistics of it.
Yeah. We need to have a point person that has a passion for, that wants to be the one organizer. That doesn't mean that person has to be the person teaching the kids, but they need to be the organizer. They need to figure out to make sure that we have all of it in a row. We call the playbook our easy button. We try to make it easy. We have the forms that you might need. We have JHAs and hot work permits that we as samples. We have sample applications for the kids. We have sample permission slips, and we try to make it as easy as possible. We even have sample schedules and everything else, but one person has to be the lead in the point. And then my recommendation is you put a small team together with that person puts a small team together within their company, a team like with one or two of the instructors that might be the ones helping on the projects, one or two of the people that will help with logistics of volunteering. At our company, we break the camp into two groups. We send 8 to sheet metal and 8 to piping. So we have 2 union instructors in sheet metal and 2 in piping. But we also ask for volunteers from our project managers and our engineers and our project execs. And we have no problem filling that because they love to volunteer and to watch the kids to participate in this camp. So we typically would have 8 kids in sheet metal. We have 2 instructors and 2 volunteers. We have 1 adult to every 2 kids, and we have an extra person roaming around. So I have found that it's really beneficial for my employees as well. The employees love giving back, particularly the 20s, 30s, and 30-somethings really love that. And honestly, I tell the story that there was a senior project manager that had moved from Boston back to the Bay Area. And he interviewed with 4 companies, 4 of us larger companies. And he came to me and said, all my offers are similar, but I picked Western Allied because you run that camp. And I think that's really important for the future of our industry.
How do you handle any of the dynamics between, got a bunch of young people, right? So young people can get crazy sometimes. Have you guys experienced any sort of that? Are the types of people you're attracting just kind of conscientious and they're there to work? Or how have you handled that kind of stuff?
I've been lucky at Western Allied. We work with this nonprofit called Live in Peace. So I asked Live in Peace to send a rep to every camp so that in case we had a meltdown or in case we had controversy, she would be the one handling it. A lot of like Hermanson works with the school district, and oftentimes the school district sends somebody as well to the camp. But those that don't, then usually that point person is the person that's kind of there. It does take a little bit of work to get them focused, but I will say that they get into the routine pretty quickly. And we do stress safety a lot. I mean, the first camp for sure, and then every camp we really stress it. So we make them, they have to wear jeans and they got to tie their hair back. And I mean, there's just a lot of that. And so they seem to get the message pretty well. And we also let them know what a great career and how much money they could make and everything else in the industry, that if they want to get that tool bag to take home and their boots to take home, that they need to finish this camp and pay attention. And so there has been very little. I mean, we had one camper that had to leave partway through the camp.
Sure.
I think her parents don't speak any English and her mom had been having health issues. And so she had to start going with her mom to all the doctor appointments. Totally understood. And we told her she could come back the next camp if she wanted to. But I mean, other than that, we've had a great attendance. The kids want to stay.
What advice would you have MEP trades? Let's say you're comparing concrete work with MEP trades. So if I'm doing concrete, I'm going to be out on a pour and it's going to be hot. It's extremely physically demanding work in many cases if I'm on the rod or with the crew there. How would you recommend a construction company in those trades kind of pitch construction to younger people looking at, let's say, concrete work, for instance, or underground work and saying, I don't know about that?
It's interesting. I actually walked our camp last summer with local Bay Area concrete underground guy. And because he was very interested in this. And he said, this might be a great way to get some kids. And I said, in my mind, you can't really follow my playbook exactly because ours is aimed for mechanical and MEP. But the whole idea, it could be the same. I said, like, for example, you bring the kids in, you give them an introduction, you teach them about how to lay out, teach them the 3D side or the computer side where you lay out what you're going to pour, you calculate how much concrete you need, you show them how to order the concrete and how to set up all the purchasing. I said, find an underserved home that needs a new driveway, and that could be their project for the summer. They could order everything, they could design it, and then they've got to go and they frame it, and then they got to go pour it. Be a great example to show them how to do it. But I think, Eric, the technology in construction today is changing the look of construction.
Sure.
In all avenues, in carpentry and concrete, everywhere. I know you still need to dig a hole, but we have tools now that do a lot of that help us with that. And I think that's the part that we need to get the message across to the kids. Procore is one of my partners for heavy metal, and they gave us this really cool link to an app where the kids can go on their phone and go to a 3D building. And through their phone, they can walk through the 3D building and they have a scavenger hunt. They have to find things to answer, for the scavenger hunt. It's a great way for them to see that, hey, I could actually be on the computer. I've got this, modeling. So that's part of our construction industry as well. And I think that it's not the construction industry we were 50 years ago.
What's the experience of the different locations been in terms of working with the school districts? Have they been receptive? Has there been any resistance there? Tell us about that a little bit.
Well, one of the biggest challenges the first year you run a camp is finding the kids, finding an avenue to find the kids. And how do you get the message out for the kids? But what we found is once they do it one camp, at that point, it's very easy because the word gets around. But some of them are a struggle because we work with the CTE, the Career Technical Education portion of the high schools. And some areas have a lot more interest in that than others. And like, for example, I know we're running a camp in Sacramento this summer. And I know that Cheryl in Sacramento SmackDown said she got a lot of applications. So she had no problem with getting enough applications. She talked to the school district and everything else, and they were very helpful with that. Some areas are a little less, they have to work a little harder to present to the schools. I've also encouraged them to work with the nonprofits, though, because the Boys and Girls Club, for example, and like I said, I found this Live in Peace. But a lot of the nonprofits are there to help the kids find their way. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. I mean, the nonprofits are very aware that not everybody's meant for college. They need to have other opportunities.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
There's a story I could tell you. Down in Southern California in Pomona area, we ran a camp last summer for the first time at Superior Duck Fabrication. And I guess the superintendent of schools for Laverne, her daughter was in the camp. And so they had 3 kids from that school district in the camp. The counselor from that school district said, these kids are raving about this. And my superintendent of schools is raving about this. So she said, I need to get more kids in this camp. So this summer, I think they have 12 kids from that school in the camp. And what she said was she actually convinced, she's a school counselor, high school counselor. She convinced the school district to allow her to be the counselor for alternate careers, which I was thrilled about because most of the time you hear that counselors are trying to push kids to college, but she wants to be the counselor for alternate careers. So she's looking for all the alternate careers that kids can get into that do not include going to college.
That's awesome. Yeah, they just, I don't know if you've heard it up here in Sacramento, their first year of the Capital College and Career Academy is happening. That's a school that's been supported by a number of construction companies up here. And the whole idea of it is to give people an opportunity to get a pathway into the trades through a high school curriculum.
Perfect. Well, I know for years we've been pushing on the legislative side to get more career tech back into schools. We wouldn't maybe have to run these camps if we had a lot more career tech in the schools all over the nation. The other thing I will tell you, I'm on a couple engineering advisory boards. I'm on the Dean's Advisory Board at Cal Poly for the School of Engineering because that's where I went. I'm very passionate about college as well for the people that want to go to college and meant to.
Absolutely.
What we found out is a third of the kids that graduate high school go to college, and only 22% of those go to four-year college. 2/3 of the kids graduating high school aren't going to college. Well, we need to figure out, in the construction industry needs to message those 2/3 of the kids and say, if you want a great career, here's one where you can do it.
Yeah. There's so much opportunity there and there's so much talent that we haven't tapped into. And so it's tremendous how this heavy metal summer experience can help to be that conduit into the industry for people who are talented and people who are interested. What are the long-term goals for the heavy metal summer experience?
I have to tell you, it's a little overwhelming where we're going already. I mean, I did not anticipate this. As you know, I recently retired from Western Allied, thinking I was going to retire, but now I'm like practically full-time trying to run this program with a few partners. But I do think until we don't have a problem with workforce development, the idea of asking contractors and training centers to have some skin in the game and to put on these camps is something that should continue to happen.
Yeah.
I anticipate my goal. I've already got probably close to 50 camps interested or hosts interested for next summer, which probably would take us to about 800 kids. I don't know. I mean, we're working on scaling up and trying to figure that out. I'd also be happy to share the idea with other, like, for example, steel or carpentry. But again, that might not come through heavy metal. We raise the money for the boots and we work with our partners. I mean, a lot of our trade partners, such as my sponsors, understand that we need to get people into our trades to continue construction. So it's been great that we get that support. And now we need to continue to do that. We need to continue to work with write up some grants and get some money to help with all that. To go from 400 kids to 800 kids will be a lot of tool bags.
Yeah, that would be definitely. So we're going to have links in the show notes to the Heavy Metal Summer Experience so people can get in touch with you, Angie.
Great.
If someone's going to start something like this in their industry, give us just your top 3 tips or top 3 words of advice as we're getting started.
Well, I think look at our playbook to come up with an idea of the sequence of what you have to do to be able to envision the camp. I think you need to figure that you can't just tell kids about it, and you can't just have a half a day camp that shows them what to do. They really need to put some time in it. I think that's where they fall in love with it, is when they get here. Anywhere between 20 and 30 hours of summer camp would be ideal for teaching a kid about that. So do a lot of planning, come up with the projects ahead of time. My group actually tested the projects. I mean, my guys, they made the project themselves to see how long they'd take. One of them brought their daughter in to help him make the project to see how long it would take her to make it. So you have to have an idea how long the project takes to do. And then just try to make them fun. I mean, we make a big deal about graduation as well.
Yes.
Our graduation, for example, we make it a company function. So we have 150 people attend their graduation.
That's wonderful.
We have big food. We have ice cream truck. They get all kinds of great certificates. That's where they show their projects. We need to make them aware that what they just achieved is a great thing.
And so you're doing 20 to 30 hours. Have you found that's kind of the optimal amount of time?
I feel 30 hours is ideal, but I think optimal would be 25 to 35 hours, something like that.
And that's over a 2-week period or something like that?
It could be 1 full week if you go full time.
Okay.
Currently, I've got camps that are doing 3 days a week now for 4 weeks. So that's about 30 hours. We're currently doing 2 days a week for 7 weeks. So we're actually expanded ours a little bit. We're going to be a few more hours than that. We wanted to add more a little welding and all that kind of thing. But yes, I think ideally somewhere between 25 and 35 hours would be ideal.
Excellent. And what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you if they wanted to have a further conversation about this?
Well, we have a website. So we are an official 501c3 nonprofit. And our website's www.hmse.org. It's Heavy Metal Summer Experience. So hmse.org. I've got an email on that website, so you can email me. But check out on our website, we have 2 great videos we did from the first year and the second year. And they're really fun to watch. And you really get an idea how excited the kids were. And actually the teachers too, because those that volunteer and teach are just, at the end of the camp, they're like, this was so great to see the kids' eyes.
I think that's one of the keys right there, is that you'll spark in your people by doing something like this, that genuine appreciation and love for these kids, and also give them a return as well, your own people a return, just by giving back in that particular way.
Right. We're finding that people have heard about it. A lot of the union sheet metal and pipe fitters that are retired are hearing about it, and they say, can I come and be an instructor?
See, there you go.
You know, I mean, really, it really is something that I think people are excited about doing. And once they're there, they really enjoy it. And I do think that it's a benefit for the companies as well. And it's really exciting. We started a few camps last week, and a bunch of them are starting this week coming up. And I've already gotten some emails from brand new camps that started last week and said, this is great. It's so much fun. I know how much work it is, but it's really great to see them be excited about hosting the camps.
Awesome. Well, Angie, really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on and talking about the Heavy Metal Summer Experience, and I wish you all the best.
I appreciate you helping me advertise it.
Right on. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Angie. Feel free to surf out to the website, HM as in Mary, S as in Sam, E as in Eric.org, to check out the Heavy Metal Summer Experience, watch those videos of the kids having a great time, and then feel free to reach out to Angie.Simon@hmse.org. I know she is very generous with her time, and she'd be happy to give you a breakdown of what they have done to build the Heavy Metal Summer Experience and how you might take that playbook and use it in your industry, in your location, to attract talent into the construction industry. Thank you for listening to Construction Genius.